Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather. In this update, we've got all kinds of weather happening over the next 7 to 10 days as a very active setup looks to take shape. So let's take a look at the overall satellite picture this morning, and we do have an active subtropical jet stream that's going to be racing across the midsection of the country. Further to the south, it's still plenty warm for this time of year, but we have these little stalled frontal boundaries that's going to be kicking off showers and thunderstorms as a continued renewed trough is going to be entering the Pacific Northwest and out the West Coast, keeps them unsettled as well. And look at this storm out here in the open waters of the Atlantic. That was the storm that we highlighted. It never actually turned into a tropical storm of Owen, but it did become a formidable storm extratropical, and luckily this thing is heading off into the middle of basically nowhere and not threatening land. But yeah, that definitely became a powerful storm in itself. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns on North America, hit the subscribe button. It's free to do so, and you get all my daily content on this channel. Plus, when I go live, which I will be doing on Tuesday for a significant severe weather event. So let's really break this thing down for you and take a look at the overall temperatures this morning. You can actually see where the warm sector is well to the south. That's plenty warm for this time of year. But there's the separation with this kind of stalled frontal boundary that's going to be pushing in from the northwest to the south. All the colder air and the unsettled weather is going to be locked up here into the Pacific Northwest and out west. But we are awaiting in the wings of this cold front that will be entering portions of the area on Tuesday, and it just gets much colder after that. So before that, we've got some severe storms to talk about today with that stalled frontal boundary that's going to be pushing across into Texas. So they do have a marginal risk for severe storms in a good chunk of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, down into Waco, into San Antonio, back in all the way into the Houston area, for some strong to severe thunderstorms. The main impact from these storms are going to be some gusty winds and some hail included with this, and you can't roll out some isolated larger hail, which be depicted on some of those quarter-size hailstones in this area, as a very active day with a lot of rain is going to be heading your way across a good part of Texas today. But everybody else out here into the west and the Pacific Northwest, we got plenty of snow happening later on this afternoon for the Intermountain West, and rain, some much needed rain entering back into California. A lot of these areas are going to be picking up possibly up to an inch in some of these areas right along the coastline here, while the snow is still flying into portions of Michigan and portions of Pennsylvania and upstate New York, while all the rain is pulled further south in that warm sector for today. But into tomorrow, that cold front just shifts a little bit further south, so that moves the rain out of Texas more or less, shifts it further south into Louisiana, into Mississippi, back into portions of Alabama here, into Georgia, while they do have that renewed snow threat continues in northern portions of Pennsylvania and upstate New York, where they're going to be getting some kind of healthier dosing, but plenty more snow is going to be trailing back behind this with another system coming in, and it's all out west. So that west system is going to be continue to push across from west to east really all throughout the week. As we go into Monday, there's the system coming in from the west. That snow line starts to enter portions of Montana, into portions of Wyoming here, into Colorado, back into Utah, into Nevada here, as well as entering portions of New Mexico. There's that cold front drifting off the southeast coast, but we do have a warm front that's going to be backing up, and that backing up is going to increase these temperatures heading in on Monday with this colder air mass coming in, and that's going to set the clash for some severe storms heading into Monday night, especially into Tuesday. It's all compliments on this trough, this really significant dip in the jet stream that's going to be coming across by Monday night heading into Tuesday morning. It's definitely always concerning with this jet stream dipping all the way into the Baja of California. That picks up the Pacific moisture and then turns negatively tilted, and it taps into all this warmer air mass with that warm front pushing back further to the north again. That is going to set the stage for, unfortunately, some severe storms, if not a severe weather or even a tornado type outbreak further to the south. While we got all kinds of weather, Tuesday is going to be an incredible day. Here's the overall satellite picture. And it's always concerning when the satellite picture looks like a shrimp, right? I mean, it fishtails all the way and you got that hook. So down to the south in the warm sector, you got the severe storms and a good chunk of East Texas into Louisiana into Arkansas. Further to the north, it transferred to some gustier winds. But once you get in the colder sector, it's all snow. It's all snow, even in blowing and drifting snow. And even portions of this could indicate some blizzard-like conditions as we get deeper into the day. But right now, definitely concerned about severe storms. The Storm Prediction Center has been on this from day 7 out. So this is now 4 days out, and it's still that threat, and it's going to be there. It's not going away. This is happening with this particular setup. I think the setup usually starts about Dallas into Waco. They're going to be on the borderline of this particular event, but especially as you hit East Texas, going into Little Rock, but especially into the Dixie Alley area, into Shreveport, into Alexandria, there's your area with definitely concern with a lot of low-level shear in place. All 3 modes of severe storms are definitely on the table. Includes tornadoes, damaging winds, and those larger hailstones as this continues to move across. I will be going live for this particular setup to keep you as safe as possible. But further to the north, it's all about the heavier rains that fishtailing in with the gustier winds into Missouri, back into Iowa. But once you get into the cold sector, it's all snow happening right around that 989 millibar low pressure. That is a formidable storm. Yes, this is one big storm. This is your shrimp, guys, all the way down, fishtailing all the way down to the coastline, all the way to the Canadian border. This is a massive storm, and this is a wild storm. You've got essentially severe weather outbreak, if not a tornado outbreak happening. You've got heavier, gustier winds, even some ice storm happening, heavier snows, and blizzard all at once. That is definitely some wild weather, and this could be the most widespread type potential setup for the U.S. of this season. With all the severe storms, the gustier winds, and all the heavier snow, this storm is going to lay all the way in areas to the north. But we're even talking portions of this area could be looking at some Thundersnow happening on Tuesday. It's going to be a wild day, no question whatsoever. All this is going to be in the form of severe storms further south into the warm sector. So as we transition to some of those gustier winds, yeah, right along that low pressure center to the west and northwest of there, those winds are going to be cranking 40 upwards to 50 miles an hour. It's definitely going to be hard to see across the street with those snowfall rates of 1, 2, if not maybe up to 3 inches per hour in some of these bear clinic zones up in this area, into portions of Nebraska, getting into the Dakotas there, where it's all severe further south. But once you go into Wednesday, it'll transition into more of a gustier wind type setup. You're still going to have the stronger severe thunderstorms and tornadoes well south into portions of Louisiana, southern portions of Mississippi, and portions of Alabama here. But further to the north, I'm not concerned about, tornadoes in Tennessee or Kentucky. It's more or less going to be gustier winds along that squall line. But yeah, there's the snow that's still flying into portions of Nebraska, getting into the Dakotas. You're talking double-digit totals easily by then in this area as this continues to come across into portions of Minnesota, back into Wisconsin. There's your severe threat on Wednesday. Like I mentioned, it's well south. So the big day is definitely Tuesday. So I don't think it gets any further north than this. It's going to be compressed south in the warm sector, because that cold air is going to be coming in and putting the stop on this air mass. But it's still going to have to be putting, that severe threat into portions of New Orleans, all the way down into southern portions of Mississippi and Alabama, and can't roll out portions of the Florida Panhandle, having that severe threat. But once we go into Thursday, that severe threat basically goes away, and it's just a squall line that moves across off the coastline here, but it's going to be transferring to all snow once that colder air comes in on the backside. There's the northwest to the southeast flow. There's the red line. That's where the freezing line temperatures is, as that snow will continue to push across from west to east. Now areas of Pennsylvania is really going to start getting into the action with those heavier snows. And then as we transition into Friday night, that low pressure center will form off the northeast coast and then wrap around that snow on the backside, and even areas along the coastal regions, along the I-95 corridor, will definitely get in the action with these snow amounts definitely increasing for them. But look at the freezing line continuing to press, as a cold air intrusion will continue to press from northwest to southeast as we get deeper into the week, especially heading into next weekend. So I really kind of broke this thing down for you as far as snow amounts across the nation. So for the next 7 to 10 days, here's out west. Plenty of snow for the Sierra Nevadas. We'll be measuring that in feet, no question. So even some snow maybe in along the coastal regions up here in the Pacific Northwest, but definitely the Intermountain West is going to get crushed over the next 7 to 10 days, with definitely some heavier snows and some healthier snowpacks. But once you get in the midsection of the country, there's your blizzard. And this is the blend, guys. This is the blend of all the model guidance over the next 7 to 10 days. So yeah, definitely on the blend, showing easily 8 to 16 inches. Obviously, some of these amounts could even be higher than that. But yeah, this is probably your most conservative look from 7 to 10 days out, with the overall blend of all of the guidance of the models coming in. This is definitely some significant totals up here, and this will continue, dumping that heavier snows all the way in the Dakotas, getting into the Minnesota, portions of Wisconsin, even portions further south can't roll out some, at least a dusting or two up to an inch into portions of Missouri, even into portions of southern Illinois, and even into portions of Kentucky. But definitely heavier snows going into Pennsylvania, upstate New York. Some of these areas could pick up easily a foot of snow over the next 7 to 10 days, and even along the coastal areas into New Jersey, getting into portions of Massachusetts and Connecticut, even up to Maine here. Definitely some healthy totals, as it's going to be a lot of snow on the table for the next 7 to 10 days. And there's your ice that you're going to have to be concerned about ahead before the snow takes over. So definitely in these areas up here into portions of Minnesota, into Iowa here, even into portions of Pennsylvania, portions of West Virginia, are definitely going to have to be concerned about some of those icy type setups. So what comes after that? This really sets the stage for something pretty potential big, as this is really starting to form. The polar vortexes definitely have disrupted 2 days ago. This, with the teleconnections of the EPO, the NAO, and the AO all going negative, which is basically ridging over the top. This puts the cold air, presses the colder air further south into the lower 48. Here's your overall ensemble guidance for that 5-day window, 10 to 15 days out from December 20th through the 25th of Christmas. That's a cold setup, guys. That's a lot of colder air entering the lower 48, where we could be looking at a potential major Arctic outbreak potential possible by then. And it's all complements of that blocking feature setting up. But the snow that's going to be happening over the next 7 to 10 days, it's going to be a good base to put that colder air well south into the lower 48. So if you look at some of the overall anomaly guidance on the European ensembles over that 5-day period from the 20th through Christmas, that is definitely a cold look. I mean, over all the areas in green are over double-digit totals below average, and this is your average means on an ensemble. That's definitely some colder air all the way into the lower 48. And here's the Canadian. This is all ensemble guidance, right? Over those 5 days, the Canadian models even more bullish on the cold. So definitely, I think plenty cold is on the table. And there's your GFS as well. So you got all global guidance hinting at the European, the Canadian, and the GFS with that blocking over the top that puts the colder air transitioning after we get rid of this severe weather setup on Tuesday. All the colder air drains in from the west to the east. It'll be a step down process as we continue to get a little bit colder and colder. And I think we can have the potential to turn into a severe weather outbreak, even a major Arctic outbreak, I'm sorry, as we get deeper towards Christmas time frame. So I'll definitely be fine tuning that as well. So yeah, definitely follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I do update daily on those platforms, and definitely catch me in the next update where I protect you before and after the storm.